This is the WWE Ultimate Edition Series 30 Rhea Ripley figure, and this could be the best WWE Ultimate Edition that we see in the entire 2026 year. I am very excited for this figure, man. I think that we have an absolute all-timer right here with this Ultimate Edition. Now, of course, we won't know until we unbox it, take a look at it, get into the details, find out about it, but this has been one of those figures that everybody has been over the moon for and clamoring for. It is Rhea Ripley, everybody's favorite. She looks incredible. We have a lot of toyeticness going on between the gear and the tattoos. Finally getting that sternum tattoo that I've been waiting on. But it is the main line, so you have the standard white and red packaging, Rhea Ripley across the top. Get a nice shot of her there with her mask on, which I think looks great. And then on the back, you get a promo shot of the figure. Then you got her right there from Survivor Series War Games 2024, which looks incredible. Got some bio reads over there. If you want to read it, you can pause it now. On the other side, you have Rhea Ripley here. But man, this figure just looks insane, man. There's so much going on with this Rhea Ripley. I think that we could be looking at one of the greatest Ultimates of all time, but we won't know until we unbox her, of course. But if you like what you see, you want to order this figure, you can go over to WrestlingFigures.com, Ringside Collectibles, use code MDTOYS to save yourselves 10%, man. But without further ado, let's crack Rhea Ripley out of the packaging, find out what this figure is all about, and see if it lives up to the hype and delivers on all of the potential that it has here, man. So let's uncage Rhea Ripley and find out what this figure is all about. So here's Rhea Ripley out of her packaging, and I am pretty blown away by a lot of the stuff we're seeing on this Ultimate Edition figure. Of course, we have to dive into it. We got to break it all down for you and process it. Make sure that it does live up to the hype, man. I know that everybody was praising this figure coming in. It was perfect. It was without any flaws whatsoever. Could this be the best Ultimate Edition women's figure we've ever seen from Mattel? I don't know. We're going to solve the mystery here today, man, but I'm excited to get into it with you. Let's get into these accessories with Rhea Ripley, and then we'll dive into the Rhea Ripley figure itself. So as far as accessories are concerned with this Rhea Ripley, you don't get a whole ton, but I will say, you know, her gear for this specific figure is highly decoed, got a lot of sculpts, ton of tattoos, face paint, intricate sculpts, so maybe that's where it comes in. You do get some cloth goods, only 2 head sculpts, but you do get the mask, so no championship or anything. But I think we must start off with these head sculpts, and I do like this face paint. You have that kind of scar going over the eye. You got the nose piercings in there. You can see the gauges right there. You got the lipstick or the lips painted in there. Very nice details. Now, I know a lot of people were saying that they want to see a Rhea Ripley that does not have face paint, right? And I can understand that, and I'm sure we will get that at a later date, and I'm sure that will be coming down the line, but you have kind of this smug look, and then you have this smile face, and I think both have a lot of likeness to Rhea Ripley. They kind of give me like Marilyn Manson vibes a little bit, but I do dig these face sculpts, and maybe somebody could repaint them and make them look like she's not wearing any face paint. I'm sure that's something you could probably do if you really wanted to, but I do like the hair sculpt. I like the gauges. Maybe a lack of paint on the gauges. I'm not sure what color they were, but I do like the likeness. And we'll do some head swaps and experiment with some different stuff in this video so you can kind of see what you're getting out of this Ultimate Edition Rhea, but I'm happy with the head sculpts. I don't think they look bad at all. Now, another big selling point with this figure is this mask. So you have these horns coming off the top. It's got the black paint kind of soaked over there with the brown overtones. You have the horns. You have the facial sort of skull, and then you do have, you know, some different lettering and cracks and everything on here, and I think these fit the head sculpts really, really well. So you can see here, you just kind of plop this over, and the horns, what they do is they hug the top of the hair so that it will stay in place. You got that kind of smiling head sculpt, which I like. And then it kind of, I feel like the likeness is a little better with the mask on there. I'm not entirely sure, but I really like the paint detail and the sculpt going on this mask. But then you can do the same thing to the other head sculpt. And now, look at that. Now you have a beautiful looking face mask on there that hugs the head nicely, man. No warpage or anything like that. I think this looks good, man. Very, very cool. I think that looks great. Now, one thing we may do on the next episode of Surgery, I might repaint one of these Rhea heads to be plain. I got to decide if I want a smiling Rhea or a sort of just straight-faced Rhea, and then we'll take the opposite and paint it up and see if we can kind of make a non-face paint Rhea Ripley. Other than that, though, you have this really nice entrance duster that does have the sculpted vest over this cloth goods. Now, there's no bendy wire or anything, but you get this nice maroonish dark crimson red color, and then it does go through here, and you get these rips in there that are very precise, which I think is just such a nice added detail. But then you have these studs on here, man, and this is an insane, man. Look at the paint detail on the back. You have these rips and these logos and everything going on, the sculpted studs on there. Very insane and very wicked looking, man. You got the chains on the back right there. I am very impressed with this entrance gear for Rhea Ripley. You spin it to the front, you get Rhea right there. This is incredible. What a great entrance duster, and I'm glad that it's not, you know, it's not going to hinder any articulation. I think this is going to be fine. So this looks really, really good, and I think it fits the figure well as well, so that's really all you can ask for. And then for interchangeable hands, you do get a pair of mic holding or weapon wielding hands. You got the tattoos on the hands there, which look nice, no nail polish. And then she also features a pair of fists to, you know, of course, beat the hell out of the other talent, but I do like these tattooed hands as well. But only 2 pairs of interchangeable hands, mic holding and fists. So we're getting into the Rhea Ripley, man. Starting out at the head sculpt, you can see the way that it sits. I think that looks pretty good. I like the way the hair lays over the shoulders and everything. Face sculpts look pretty good for the most part. Coming down into the neck, you do get that nice sculpt under there that is completely sculpted on. You get the butterfly joints in there. Nice sculpts all the way atop. You got some skulls or some Grim Reapers on this top part, which I do like, and I think that that all looks good. On the back of the figure, you do have a little bit of paint splotching right there at the top of the strap, so you're seeing that. You do also see the upper torso that's custom sculpted, man. See these black dots, man? Look, there's a black dot there, black dot there, black dot there. You got some QC issues going on with this figure, man. Definitely some QC issues. If we push the figure forward a little bit, I don't see anything on the lower torso, but on the front, man, I'm very happy to have the sternum tattoo finally, but you see how there's some sort of, like, these little nicks and crannies right here, man, these little spots of paint are not supposed to be there, I don't think, man. Just look how messy it is. I'm gonna have to go in there and clean that up. I don't think that is accurate. You can see, like, these paint chippings and things like that. That is definitely annoying, but I will say that she does have nice sculpts going on, man. The gear looks good with this maroon red. You got the silver with the black and the sculpts going all the way around, which I do like. You do have her tattoos, of course, all the way around. They even continue into the joints, which I also think is cool. Black wrist tape. You do have her tattoos on her arms here. I think she's only missing a couple tattoos on this figure, if I'm not mistaken. You know, I'm sure there's 1 or 2 missing, but look on the arms and stuff, man. There's some definite, you know, splotches and different things going on. I'm going to have to do my best to get off of there. Hopefully that will not be too difficult. But going down into the upper thighs, we do have the kind of gear wrapped around the upper thighs, which is sculpted to it. You get the fishnets, you get the tattoos underneath the fishnets, which looks really good. Pinless legs. All of this looks really, really clean down here, though. I'm not getting that as much on the upper torso, but on the back of the lower torso here, you can see the tattoos continue. If you see that water right there, it's because I had some water spill in my review station, and so it got some soap on it, and I had to go wash it off, so there may be some loose liquid kind of falling out, but I do like the way that all the tattoos and everything came out, at least on the lower half. The top part looks a bit messy, but these look to be newly sculpted. I don't think we've seen these boots before, all these straps coming down the side, but I do like the extra detail of the boots or the buckles here painted in silver. I think that is a very nice touch, but I love this Rhea Ripley figure, but let's see how she feels in hand and get into some comparisons, but damn, that is so muddy right there on the lower torso. I do not like that. I definitely am going to have to fix that in some way. So for this figure specifically, she can't really look down that much or up that much. Not a lot of head articulation whatsoever besides rotation, of course, but, you know, her arms can go above 90. You're going to get that full swivel there. You get bicep cut. You get the double jointed pinless arms, which are beautiful. You get the hinge and the swivel in the wrist. You get this butterfly joint that is pretty decent, man. It goes across pretty nicely. That's pretty damn fair right there. I do like that, and it's hidden. It's very hard to see because of the way it's, you know, been sculpted, so I do like that. And, you know, because it is a women's ultimate similar to what we got with Tiffany Stratton, this is something that has been building over the last year or so. We do get a lot of diaphragm pivoting here, which is really good, and then the ab crunch is not, you know, just your traditional ultimate ab crunch. You get a really nice one because there is a ball joint here, and it allows for a very good flex backward. Look at that right there, man. That's crazy. Look at that. That is insane. So I love to see that, and you can actually pop this apart and, you know, probably customize or do something with that. I'm not sure, but I would love for this to be the way of the world for all Ultimate Editions or Elites moving forward, honestly. But it does have the drop-down hips. The kick forward is really, really good, of course. Go out to the side here, which is very nice. Very buttery smooth. I'm not getting anything like that. You do have upper thigh cut. You get a very smooth double-jointed pinless knee, which is terrific. And then you do get the boot cut. The ankles go up and down. You get a beautiful ankle pivot, and you get the toe hinge. So Rhea Ripley can pose around very, very well, which is something I was hopeful for. I think the details here are incredible. There is a lot to like about this Rhea Ripley figure, man. I am really, really enjoying this, but let's get into some Rhea Ripley figure comparisons here. Now, this is not every Rhea Ripley, but we do have a couple comparisons here. We're missing the Elite 110. I do have it, I just couldn't find it, and then I do have a fix-up off screen that we can take a look at maybe, but here's the Ultimate Edition that came with the ring, and then we do have the Elite 117, which I deemed the best women's Elite figure of last year in 2025, but you can see here, both of these figures did not include the sternum tattoo. This one includes it coming up through the middle, but it's kind of hidden on this one, but you do get it right here in the midsection, which I was very appreciative of. But I think the big thing about these is, what kind of head swaps can we do? What can we play around with? You know, what is the big thing here to see what we can do with these figures? So maybe you could take the first Ultimate Edition and then put on the smiling head sculpt with the face paint. That looks like a pretty cool fix-up right there that you could do if you wanted to use some of your extra head sculpts from this Ultimate, put it on your previous Rhea Ripley, you could do that. You could also take the current Rhea Ripley and you could put the first Ultimate Edition head sculpt on there. Maybe that's something you want to do. That doesn't look half bad either. So I know people weren't crazy about the likeness on this figure, but it is a non-face paint. So, you know, you get like some yeah, obviously this is an old head sculpt, but I still think this would work for a Rhea if you wanted to do that. Or you could, you know, take the Elite 117 head sculpt and then put on one of these face paint heads, and then you have your Elite 117 fix-up with face paint, which I think looks really, really good as well. Or you could take the Elite 117 head sculpt and put it on this current Ultimate Edition, which I think looks really damn good as well. So there's a lot of options here. I think all of them look really, really good as well. So I don't think you're going to be upset about any of those possibilities. And then we also have this little off-screen fix-up I made a year or two ago that is using the basic head sculpt. I use like a Sonya Deville and some different Elite Rhea parts. And so maybe we could take this head sculpt. Does this pop off? Surely. Yeah, you can pop this basic head sculpt off, put it over here, and then you can plop this onto this Ultimate, and then boom, now you have another Rhea Ripley. So I guess it's just, what do you want out of your Rhea Ripley? But one thing I wanted to do is I do have my buddy BEW. He has a custom Art the Clown head sculpt. I want to put this on here and just see. That, obviously, I need to put some sticky tack in there, but just sitting it on there, that looks hella insane. So maybe that's something that we can play around. I may do like I'll probably do some sort of figure photography. We'll probably do that in a figure photography part or something. That looks pretty damn insane. So I do dig the way that looks. So I don't know, man. There's no limit to what you can win. And then for another Rhea Ripley figure comparison, here we have the Ultimate Edition Rhea Ripley up next to some other Ultimate Editions of note. You have the Charlotte Flair Ultimate, the Asuka Ultimate, which I deem the best women's Ultimate Edition ever made by Mattel. You have last year's winner of the women's best WWE Ultimate Edition figure, which was Tiffany Stratton, and then you do have Bayley. Now, Rhea Ripley coming for this championship this year. That will be interesting to see if she can take that, or maybe is she the best Ultimate Edition of all time? That is something we'll figure out later on, but this figure is very damn good. As far as better than the rest, I am unable to say right this moment. I think it's very damn good, and, you know, I still have to collect all of my thoughts, but my God, you have a banger right here, man. All three of these are absolutely incredible, and this Bayley and this Charlotte are not bad in their own right, but this Tiffany, this Rhea, this Asuka, these are all-time Ultimate Editions, I think. I mean, really what your issues are going to be mainly just QC that I'm seeing with this Rhea Ripley figure. So that pretty much wraps up our Ultimate Edition Series 30 Rhea Ripley figure review, man. Let's get into the pros and cons of this figure. Let's start off with the pros. I think that it's got great head sculpts. I love the mask. I like the details. Yes, the face paint, it is what it is. It's accurate to the event, though, right? I think that the face paint and the likeness is nice, regardless if it's not a, you know, traditional Rhea Ripley or a Rhea Ripley without face paint. I don't really care about that, but the sculpture is very nice. I love that we're getting a lot of the tattoos in here. I love the implementation of the ball joint waist or the ball joint torso, allowing for that ab crunch, man. You guys know how much I really enjoyed the Tiffany Stratton, so you're getting a lot of that here. Figure poses immaculate. It has a ton of details. I like the entrance gear. I will say that with the entrance gear, and I guess this is where my cons can come in, but the figure is very, very nice aesthetically, and it is insane. It really is insane. But as far as the cons go, I would say that QC is probably the number one issue here with just how muddy everything gets, and like the paint chipping and their blotches and the splotchiness is very annoying. And then trying to get the vest on is kind of challenging. It's a bit wonky and weird trying to get that on there, and then the head sculpt fits pretty tight when you try to slide it on there, so that's just something to monitor. It's not, you know, a huge deal, but it's something to point out that getting that vest on there is a bit tricky, but once you get it on there and everything like that, it is nice and everything. But yeah, man, the QC is just crazy. How we, you know, ever since the factory switch, it seems like there's always something wrong with these new releases, man. It's just crazy, and we kind of all called it back when, you know, they first switched over and there was a lot of, you know, adjustments that had to be made, and I still don't think we're out of the weeds, but I don't know, man. Let me know what you're thinking down there. I may make another video on that, but I overall really enjoy this Rhea Ripley. Is it going to be the best women's Ultimate Edition of the year? I don't know, man. We'll have to see. You know, I think early on in 2026, we already have an Elite Contender of the Year and an Ultimate Contender of the Year with Rhea Ripley and Penta already, and that just kind of speaks of how good those figures are. But I am really enjoying this Rhea Ripley. I think it's the best Rhea Ripley we've gotten so far, and I loved her Elite last year, but this one, you know, with that added articulation and the details that we're getting here and the tattoos and everything, this is a pristine Ultimate, and I really, really enjoyed it, man. I think you guys are going to like this. If you see this figure and you're you know, if you're on the fence, don't be. I think you need to buy this figure. I think this is going to be one of those all-timer Ultimate Editions, especially when it comes to the women's Ultimates. This is a damn good figure, and I really enjoyed it, man, so I think you guys will also enjoy it. But let me know what you guys think, man. We did pick this figure up over at Ringside Collectibles using code MD Toys, so a huge shout out to them for making this video possible and reviewing this figure, man. I had a ton of fun. I think you guys are going to love this, but that is pretty much going to wrap it up for this video, man. Go over to Ringside Collectibles, use code MD Toys to save yourselves 10%, but before we get out of here, let's get into our random comment shout-out, and this is going to go to ECF Extreme Championship Fighting, who says, I still think that figure is the perfect Mox formula, and he's talking about the Jesse Ventura Ultimate, and I would agree, man. I think this is a perfect formula. You just got to worry about that neck peg. That's really where the issue is going to come in with this figure, so you're going to want to monitor that. You're going to have to keep an eye on that one, of course, but I think that this is true, and I'm going to try my hand at making an Ultimate Edition Moxley when that figure, when I get an extra one of those figures, or I may use that one in general. But I had a lot of fun with that Jesse Ventura. It didn't seem like a lot of people were that hyped for the review or wanted to see that review, so if you guys will go check out that review, or just go over there and leave a like or a comment, I'd greatly appreciate it. If you watched to this point, it would mean a lot to me, man. But that's going to wrap it up for me, man. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I appreciate you guys so very much, but I'm getting the hell out. I'll see you guys next time. Have a blessed one, and I'll catch you guys later.